Welcome to the Fantasy Football Anonymous Show, brought to you by No One and Nothing, as always, and presented by a couple of no ones who know nothing. Just kidding. I'm Joe Osno, here with Matt Schroeder, Rob Shaw, and amazingly, Week 7 is already in the books in the NFL. Where's the time gone? What stood out to you guys from another crazy week?
Well, man, you're right, Joe. Like, it just felt like the season started, and we're getting almost to the halfway point. I guess what really stood out to me is there's a lot of lacking of touchdowns in a few of these games where teams would get shut out or they'd only kick field goals. Very, very odd week, but that's kind of been the norm of this football season. And so, we just keep on going on, updating our rankings accordingly and trying to figure out what we can figure out.
So what you're saying, Schroeder, is the kickers are where it's at this season.
Oh, yeah.
All defenses and kickers. Ruling fantasy football.
I've been burned by a number of defenses this season. One game that I was just baffled by, speaking of defenses winning the game, was that Panthers-Bears game. I was just shocked. Like, Mitchell Trubisky, I think he only threw the ball 7 times, maybe 6 or 7 times. They just never had to. They were up off of defense, and I can't explain that. That was just a crazy game. Y'all are the fans.
Mm-hmm.
For
Mitchell
now.
Trubisky, he completed 4 passes, and that was 4 more passes than he had to complete to win that game. Their defense outscored our offense. Pathetic effort by the Panthers. They couldn't get anything going. The running game wasn't working. Cam didn't look that good besides the first drive. It was just a bad effort all around. But, I mean, there were some other kind of interesting games that happened this weekend. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into the first one. Number 1, Rams-Cardinals. Rob, we're going to go to you with your fresh take on this. Carson Palmer's out with injury. What does this mean for the Cardinals' offense?
It means the Cardinals stink and the Rams are pretty good. I don't know how you can take anything else away from that game. The Cardinals, they're done for the year. The Adrian Peterson hype, he may have some good games here and there, but I think that was that first game was more a bit of a fluke. And Carson Palmer was like the only thing holding this older rebuilding team together since David Johnson got injured. I think they're done. I don't think the Cardinals have much to offer. The Rams, on the other hand, it was a good showing from them. I kind of expected them to win, but this week it'll be interesting to see how they, coming off that high of such a big victory like that. I think the Rams are pretty good.
Yeah, their offense is the number 1 scoring offense so far, and I have to agree. The Cardinals, without Carson Palmer, without David Johnson, I'm not sure they're going to stand much of a chance. Next game that really interested me, we got Saints at Packers. I wanted to see how Brett Hundley was going to do, and Joe, he definitely disappointed. Are you going to be selling pretty much all your Packers besides Aaron Jones?
I don't really know that you can right now. I think you kind of have to wait for a better showing than what we got this past week, and it could honestly happen. I'm not sure that I think as Hundley plays, he could get more comfortable, but obviously he was awful on Sunday, and the Green Bay Packers are probably to put it eloquently. That's where their season is headed at this point. Much like the Arizona Cardinals, when you lose your starting quarterback, especially when he's probably the best one playing right now, it's impossible to overcome.
Yeah. I mean, well, Rodgers was known for saying, relax, RELAX. I think right now he's probably saying, we SUCK. We suck.
PANIC.
And I was looking around my office for some any kind of fastener because I was going to hold it up and say they're screwed. Yeah. But I didn't find any. So them all day and I couldn't find any. So sorry to disappoint.
Next game of offensive ineptitude. Chargers at Broncos. Now, I've always thought this Chargers defense was a wee bit underrated. They do have some good pass rushers, and they can look good from game to game. But Broncos put up 0 points. They got shut out. How worried are you about all these Broncos options?
Well, for one, they need Emmanuel Sanders back. I think he gives them an extra target there. And from the other side, I am worried about all these Broncos options. To be honest, I wasn't really high on them early, like at the beginning of the season. They had a couple good showings there. It's the offense looks lost. Trevor Siemian can be average at best, even though he's had a few good fantasy weeks. But I know the Chargers defense has, played better than they have in recent years. Joey Bosa has been a monster, but yeah, I'm not feeling the Broncos offense at all. CJ Anderson, the running game was non-existent. I'd be worried. I think it's time to worry, panic in Denver for their season.
Yeah, this offense has a lot of question marks. They need to start to figure out how to get something done starting next week, but they could be in trouble if Trevor Siemian can't turn it around. All right, next game of offensive ineptitude. We got a Super Bowl rematch, Joe, of the Patriots at the Falcons. And I know what you guys are all thinking, because it's the exact same thing I was thinking. Matt Ryan decided he couldn't blow a lead this time if he never had a lead. This Falcons offense looked terrible. Are they going to keep on looking terrible in the future?
I want to say no. Well, as a Panthers fan, I want to say yes, but obviously, but they have so many weapons. It does not make sense that they could not get anything going. This was more about inept play calling, I think, than anything. Giving Taylor Gabriel the ball on a jet sweep on 4th and 1 at the goal line. At the very best, it was one of the worst calls of the year on offense. Unbelievable. They have to get Julio Jones more involved. That was the one thing that was working for them in the second half. He had his first touchdown of the season. But as a whole, their offensive coordinator may be out the door in the coming weeks if something doesn't change quickly.
Yeah, and them losing Shanahan, we're seeing the difference right now. That's what I strictly blame it on, because they have all the same guys. It really makes no sense other than, as you said, Joe, the play calling. So that has to change if the Falcons want to turn this thing around.
Yeah, that's for sure. Steve Sarkisian has done an awful job so far, and they need to change it up somehow with either someone else calling the plays or him actually figuring out how to get his playmakers involved. Because Devontae Freeman, if you watched him, he looked pretty good, and he had a very high yards per carry, but they were not giving him the rock. It's just questionable play calling all around. Mm-hmm. Last game I want to get into before we move into this upcoming week's games. Rob, someone who wasn't offensively challenged this week, the Philadelphia Eagles take down the Washington Redskins 34-24 on Monday Night Football. Eagles, are they one of the top 5 offenses right now in the NFL?
Hands down. They're incredible. Remember, this Washington defense has improved dramatically since years past. Now, they're a little banged up in the secondary. They're not quite at full strength, but Carson Wentz shows week after week just putting out excellent performances, even though he got beat up a little bit in the first quarter, bouncing back, not letting that get him down. We saw that in the Carolina game early. Made a mistake early, bounced back. So I think they're one of the best offenses in the league. I think it's going to continue to trend. Fantasy football-wise, start them all. As a matter of fact, I'm starting 4 of them in one of my leagues, all on the same team. So, yeah. Did you say against you?
Yeah.
Yep, and against Joe last week. So, but yeah, the Eagles
it worked.
Their offense is fantastic, and their defense isn't far behind. Washington, I just feel bad for Kirk Cousins because I see him as a very good quarterback, but I just feel like the record is always going to raise those question marks. I mean, he's cashing in paychecks. I'm sure that's a good consolation prize, but something's got to give in Washington. I think they have a lot of talent, but they're just not producing the wins right now.
I will say you don't have to feel too sorry about him because he's going to be the highest paid quarterback and highest paid player in the NFL after this season. So that's at least a consolation prize for him. All right, moving into this week's games. We start our Thursday off, as always, with an awful game. Oh, my gosh. Joe, I'm sorry. We're going to go ahead and get your analysis. Well, who do you like in the Dolphins and Ravens, and who are you going to be playing in this game?
Who do I like? No one. This is not a Thursday night game I'm very excited for. I think we were spoiled a little bit last week. We actually another game without much offensive ineptitude. The week was kind of bookended by two good games with a lot of crap mixed in the middle. But yeah, I would play Jay Ajayi in this game and Jarvis Landry. Outside of that, I do not think I would start anyone else for fantasy. Devontae Parker's still banged up. We don't know if he's going to be out there or not. I would guess no on a short week. So yeah, I'll take the and I think it's kind of a pick'em game. I'll take the Ravens to win at home over Matt Moore and the visiting Dolphins. But not much fantasy goodness to be had here, definitely. What about you?
Joe, I'm going to disagree with the result. I think the Dolphins are going to win with Matt Moore. I think they looked really good with Matt Moore. Much tougher defense they're going up against. Like you said, start Ajayi, start Landry. I mean, Joe Flacco and that offense versus a very underrated Miami team, shockingly 4-2. I'm going with Miami on the road. The Ravens just look lost right now. Just their offense is a mess. It's a mess. Schroeder, do you think the road dog will win this game?
Rob, I'm picking the Dolphins too. I mean, they're without Jay Cutler. I'm actually thinking that's a positive. I think Matt Moore's a better quarterback than Jay Cutler. You are going to be starting Ajayi. I think you're going to have to be starting Jarvis Landry. But a guy that I actually like a little bit in this matchup is Kenny Stills. He has had a lot of chemistry with Matt Moore lately. And if you look back to last year's games, he's been putting up some very good numbers when Matt Moore has quarterback. So he's a little bit more of a sleeper option if you need someone who could actually put up 60 yards and a touchdown, something like that, to be a fantasy producer this week. On the other side of the ball, I mean, maybe Buck Allen, but and
Justin
like
Tucker. Buck Allen.
But other than that, you're moving on. Don't start your guys there.
They have been getting in field goal range a tad bit more often than they were early on in the season. Yep. So Tucker is a little bit playable here.
He's their best offensive player. Justin Tucker is their best offensive player.
And I agree. I think Matt Moore will probably play better than Cutler has this year. Mm-hmm. So we agree there.
All right, moving on to the next game. And an attempt for the NFL to show that they keep on hating England, and London in particular. We got the Vikings at the Browns in London, across the pond. Rob, who do you like in this game?
Vikings. I can't pick Cleveland. I can't bring myself. I honestly believe they could go winless this season. I just don't think this is the game that they prove me wrong. I think Minnesota, while they've had their struggles with consistency at quarterback with the injuries, Dalvin Cook out, I still like them to win this really ugly game. I think the Vikings defense is what's going to win it for them. And I mean, I kind of like Case Keenum this week. He could be something interesting if, a little deeper leagues, if you have some buys. Thielen, I like him as well. About that backfield yet, so you might have better options, but not much to say. Cleveland's just been bad, so I think they're gonna the defense of the Vikings is gonna control this game, and the Vikings come away with the win.
I want to disagree with you. I don't want to disagree with you. I want to disagree with you for the sake of disagreeing with you, but I can't. The Vikings win this game easily. Their defense should be able to control this game completely. And that running back situation in Minnesota, a little bit wonky, a little bit crazy. Latavius Murray finally got involved last week. That may continue as they try to put away what I expect to be a hefty lead here.
Who do you like more, Murray or McKinnon this week, Joe?
I actually like Murray more this week.
Okay.
Murray.
Agree. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have to pick Vikings too. One of the things I'm looking for is Stephon Diggs. I think if they're smart, they're going to go ahead and rest him through the bye week. Just let him get fully healthy because the guy's a dynamic receiver whenever he is fully healthy. I think we have seen that. On the other side, I mean, I think it has to help that the Browns are getting away from the United States because they can't do anything in the United States in terms of football. So maybe going to London will help. But I am hoping also that they are starting Cody Kessler at quarterback. He cannot be worse than Hogan, and he cannot be worse than Kaiser. And he didn't look good last year, but he looked more competent than any of the other quarterbacks that they had on the roster. So I'm hoping they start him, and maybe he'll give a little bit of a life into him. But I'm still picking the Vikings to win this game. Next game we got is Falcons at the Jets. All right. It's funny about this game because normally, if before the year, everyone would have picked Falcons and forget about it. This is a game you kind of have to think about it a little bit more now. I think I still have to go Falcons. They just can't be this bad offensively continuing. The Jets defense just gave up 31 points to the Miami Dolphins. I'm looking for the Falcons to finally get something together, start to really rely on their run game to get something, take some of the pressure off Matt Ryan, who has not looked good this year. I like Freeman a lot in this game. I like Coleman a lot in this game. Obviously, you're still starting Julio Jones. Matt Ryan is not an every week must start, though. On the other side of the ball, Jermaine Kearse, he continues to catch touchdown passes. I'm starting him. You're obviously starting Austin Seferian-Jenkins, who has really emerged as a tight end one this year. And Josh McCown could be a flyer if you absolutely need someone to throw out there. But I'm going to go ahead and pick the Falcons on the road. Rob?
Yeah, I agree with you. It is kind of more of a toss-up, but I like Atlanta to bounce back after an awful performance. And I think the Jets, they've done a lot better than we thought they were, but that roster still is questionable. And I think that's going to catch up with them this week. It caught up with them last week. I like all the guys you said, and, look for the Falcons to get back to running the ball this week. That's something I think is going to happen. I think Freeman, you pointed out his yards per carry. I think that's going to be the way. That's the ticket for them to open up the pass a little more. Jet sweeps the tape. No. So I'm going with the Falcons on this one. Joe, you think they're going to keep doing those jet sweeps every 4th and 1?
Maybe if enough people talk crap about them for it, they'll give it up. But I would agree. I think they lean more on the run here and pick up a win on the road, even if it might be a closer one, certainly than we would have thought at the beginning of the year. They have 2 great running backs, not just one. So
next game we got up Panthers at Buccaneers. Panthers laid an egg against Chicago last week, Joe. Buccaneers, well, they put up a ton of passing yards, as Jameis likes to do, but he also enjoys losing, apparently, quite a bit. Who do you see him winning this one?
This is a really tough game for me to pick. The Panthers looked so awful a week ago. Their offensive line has major issues, and I think it really depends on how healthy they can be on who I'm picking here. I'm actually going with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home. This is an offense that got going a week ago against a pretty tough Buffalo defense, and I think they're going to be able to continue that here. I'm not sure if the Panthers are going to have Luke Kuechly, so I think they will be able to do enough. I think this was one of the truly awful primetime games of a year ago, although the Panthers were starting Derek Anderson as in for Cam in that one. But I think the Buccaneers win a close game. You're obviously starting Doug Martin, Mike Evans. Cameron Brate lost some targets and touchdowns to O.J. Howard a week ago. That was mostly due to the Bills not covering Howard though, whenever he would run a route. So I would expect Brate to have a much better game here, and Cam's an obvious start every week. The running game for Carolina, McCaffrey in a PPR, Stewart a desperation flex, mainly in standard, and the health of the receivers as that continues to improve, they should be more and more playable. But I foresee a rough outing for the Panthers, and I hate it.
So, Rob, before you get into it, O.J. Howard had a massive game against your Buffalo Bills. Is this going to be something that you can see continuing moving forward, or is this just a one-week aberration?
No, I think this was a one-week aberration. Bills safety Jordan Poyer exited the game early. It just looked bad after that. The Bills pass defense looked really bad after that. The Bills defense was really stout in the first half when they had him in. So I see that trending back for the Buccaneers. And I see the Panthers winning this game. If you look at the Panthers, that was an awful performance last week. But they did outperform the Bears in in all the statistical categories except turnovers and points off turnovers. So you just subtract those plays, and the Panthers easily could have won that game. But they outplayed them. They outplayed them except for 3 plays. I think the Panthers are going to bounce back. They played Philadelphia really tough a couple weeks ago, and I think they're going to – they're very inconsistent, the Panthers. So they had such a bad performance. I'm predicting the upslide here. As far as the Bucs go, they did play Buffalo hard. I question how good Buffalo is. But, yeah, I just don't believe in Jameis Winston, even though he had a career game. It happens against Buffalo. Maybe I've just watched too many Bills games at this point. But I like the Panthers to bounce back. I like Cam to have a really good game. I like him to pick apart that defense. And Cam also to run the ball a lot. Taylor ran all over the Bucs. They could not stop him scrambling. So I like them to bounce back. Schroeder?
I desperately hope you're right, Rob.
Yeah, bold prediction, I guess. But Schroeder, do you think
not really that bold.
That Cam's going to exploit this defense that let the Buffalo Bills drop 30 on them?
Yeah, I actually do like the Panthers this week. I think Cam can have a good week. It's hard to say every week that, Cam, even against a bad defense, that Cam's going to be on, because we've seen him put up some duds against some bad defenses, and against some good defenses look pretty good. But this is a week I do think the Panthers are going to bounce back pretty heavily. The Buccaneers defense is pretty bad, and I think they can be gashed in multiple ways. So Panthers are much better than they played last week. I think they're going to come out angry, and I'm predicting the Panthers win here.
And I'm happy to hedge my bets. Either way, I'm happy. I'm
Rob,
right.
Next game we got 49ers at the Philadelphia Eagles.
I mean, what more do I have to say? The Eagles are incredible, and the Niners are terrible. Like I said earlier, I'm starting all my Eagles in this game. Ertz, Blunt, Wentz. And I'll also point out, I think LeGarrette Blount's going to see a lot more carries. Wendell Smallwood did not look good getting more carries. So I think they're going to trend back towards Blunt. I like Jeffrey. I like everybody you can play. I like Aguilar. And as far as from the 49ers, they just got smoked. Their defense is so terrible. Dallas just lit them up. One good offense, another good offense is probably going to light them up. You're safe to pick the Eagles this game. Maybe a few guys I like. There's always Carlos Hyde. There's going to be the work there. My only fear with him is that they get down so early that they start having to throw the ball a lot more, which I kind of like Pierre Garçon, especially in PPR. I always like him more in PPR. But other than that, I think the Eagles win. I think they win big.
Yeah, you're right, Rob. You've already waxed poetic about how great the Eagles are, and they have been excellent this year. We'll see if the loss of Jason Peters really means anything. Probably not this week, but it could affect them down the line. Not really much to add from a fantasy perspective. You've already pretty much covered all the guys. Hyde and Garcon are the only startable players on that San Francisco team. And yeah, start all your Eagles.
Yeah, definitely Eagles for the win. I will say in super deeper, like deep leagues, you can look at George Kittle for the 49ers. Nigel Bradham, the linebacker that usually covers the tight ends, is out for the year. And they just got gashed by Jordan Reed and Vernon Davis last game. So he could be a very, very deep, sneaky play this week. Next game we got Bears at the Saints. And guys, I think the Saints are a little bit changing from a passing team to a running team. At least that's what I'm seeing. Not so for the Bears. They're still a running team. I'm going to be picking the Saints this game at home. Unfortunately, their defense has looked improved. I'm not going to say they're good. It is improved, not good. They have a while to go before good, but they are forcing turnovers, which is, I guess, the first step in actually starting to become a fearsome defense. I like Jordan Howard a lot this game. I think he could get close to 30 carries if the Bears can stay in the game. On the other side, you're starting Ingram. Even Kamara looked really good last game. Breeze was a little bit shaky, actually, against Green Bay. Threw a couple of interceptions, but unless you have, other top 5 options, I think you have to start him too. Ted Ginn is someone who's actually been having a couple big weeks in a row. So he's a guy that you could throw in a desperation flex if you have a lot of bye weeks out there. And for Michael Thomas, you kind of just have to persevere right now. You're starting him every week, obviously, but there's going to be better times ahead. It could start this week.
Yeah, it'll probably be up and down for Thomas. I'm going with the Saints. The thing you said about the defense, I totally agree with you, but the impact of the improvement in their defense, they were the worst defensive team, and it wasn't even by a little bit. It was by a mile. Now they are no longer the worst defensive team, probably ranked between 20 and 30th, in my opinion. That's like jumping from 25th to 1st, because that's how bad they were in years past. They've improved so much, and we're starting to see it in the win-loss column. And like you said, they're more of a running team now, and this could be really go well for the Saints as Drew Brees gets a little older. Mark Ingram is plenty capable, and Kamara's looked pretty good in his role. So I think the Saints look really good this week. Start Jordan Howard. I don't know if I have much more there. Maybe Zach Miller. It's always kind of, if they only throw the ball 7 times or whatever, it can be a little tricky. Something tells me that'll trend up a little bit, the passing attempts for Mitchell Trubisky.
Yeah, the New Orleans Saints, they want to play good defense and run the football. That's their that's their MO.
I didn't think about that. Yeah.
I think Drew Brees might be nursing a little bit of an injury. He doesn't really seem to have lost a step, but did not play his best game in Green Bay. Could have had a much better day. He decided to throw the ball to the Packers too much. But I would agree. I do think both running backs have great value in this offense. And I love the guy on the other side running the football too, Jordan Howard. The Saints, they're going to win this game at home. And what else are we going to say? Let's keep going.
Not much else. I mean, Tariq Cohen, you can't start him. He had 1 catch for 70 yards. That was a fluky play. He's not getting the work. So if you have Tariq Cohen, you're benching him. And even some shallower leagues, you might be dropping him. He's just not playable right now. Next game we got up is Chargers at the Patriots. Joe, the Chargers have won 3 straight games. They have stopped doing what they love doing, losing. How is this possible? Are they for real? And are they going to beat the Patriots?
I do think they're trending up as a team, and it's probably because I've been picking against them every week. I've been doing them the favor of aiding them to victories. I'm not sure that their win streak continues this week against New England on the road. New England is another team that's on the upswing. I'm not sure if they played much better defense or if the Atlanta Falcons offense was just that inept on Sunday night. Maybe a little bit of both. Obviously, I love pretty much everyone for fantasy in this game. I'm not sure that the New England defense is anywhere close to what we thought it was going to be before the year. And yeah, I think Rob Gronkowski bounces back here. He's in a very good spot. Brandon Cooks, still one of the leading receivers in the NFL, kind of quietly found the end zone a week ago. Chris Hogan's still a little bit banged up for the Patriots. In terms of their backfield, James White in a PPR and otherwise stay away for now until something changes. Rex Burkhead came back a week ago and further complicated that situation. For the Chargers, obviously, I love their running back, Melvin Gordon. Didn't have the best week a week ago, but against Denver. But who does, unless you're Orleans Darkwa? So, yeah, Phillip Rivers is in a very good spot here too. Hunter Henry's in every week tied in one, and Keenan Allen's in a very good spot here too. I like him to have a very good game this week. And the Patriots win in a shootout at home.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that, Joe. Patriots win at a shootout at home. The only thing to further comment, the running back situation, like you said, it is a disaster. And if people still want Mike Gillislee, I think now's the time to sell on him. Even though it's not even on a high note. I think James White's the back to own, especially, like you said, the PPR. But I wouldn't be surprised if Dion Lewis keeps getting, some touches. Yeah, it's just weird. It's hard to predict. And, yeah, I'm just staying away from that backfield for the most part. It's a mess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely is. I'm picking the Patriots too. This is a game where you're going to be starting everyone. I like Phillip Rivers a lot as a fantasy start this week. Rob, you said the backfield was a disaster. It's really a disaster for fantasy. It's actually working out well for the real-life New England Patriots team.
That's what I meant.
Yes.
This is a fantasy football show, after all.
Well, Rex Burkhead came back, and he actually looked pretty good. If you have Mike Gillislee, you can't start him. He's unstartable. I think you put him on your bench. Unless an injury happens, you can't really start any of these guys with confidence. But I would say if you're in a deep league, you can go ahead, put a waiver claim on Burkhead. He looks like a guy that could get some work, put up a solid 4 or 5 points every single week. All right, next game we got, Rob. It is your Buffalo Bills facing the Oakland Raiders. Before you jump into it, Koopa. He is alive. It is amazing. Is he going to keep this up?
Yeah, I think he is. I really do. Bill's secondary, a little banged up right now. Poyer's day-to-day. EJ Gaines also got a little banged up. So nursing some injuries there. They may play, but might not be at full strength. So I think Cooper is a great play this week. Not really sure who White will be covering. Whether it's Crabtree or Cooper. One of them is going to be good. And I'm going with the Raiders this game. The Bills, that was as a fan, that was one of the most uninspiring victories. Now, I'll give them this. Tyrod Taylor, historically, I think the stat was something like he was 2-20 or 2-18 when trailing or less. In the final 4 minutes, something like that. He finally came through. They came from behind and won, but it was against a terrible defense. And if not for that fumble, which was a heads-up play by the Buffalo Bills defense, at the same time, probably should have known the situation and really tucked the ball. I'm going with the Raiders. I think they're trending up. I think Carr is getting healthier. I think that the passing game is finally going, and I think the Bills are going to have a tough time stopping them. Derek Carr's done very well against the Buffalo Bills in the past. I don't know who's going to run the ball with Oakland, and frankly, I don't think they need to. I think they can throw, and they can throw successfully. As far as the Bills, 8 points against a bad defense, but I'm just not really sure week to week. I just see drives that get stalled out, questionable play calling by the coach. While I like McDermott as an overall coach, some of his first-year coaches, they had an out route where they didn't get to spike the ball for a field goal at the end of the half. I like the more experienced Derek Carr here over Tyrod Taylor, and I like it to be a bit of a shootout and an exciting game. But I got the Raiders winning, perhaps on the final drive. Either way, Buffalo fails to score or Oakland scores for the win. Start LaShawn McCoy. Start McCoy. I love McCoy this week. He finally got his mojo. He's good to go. He's the center of the offense.
Well, Rob, I keep planning to disagree with you, and you keep surprising me. I'm picking the Raiders also in this game. They are trending upward. I think their offensive line has started to play a little bit better, blocking. I don't know if either of their running backs are startable here, as you mentioned, but both wide receivers certainly are. I think they both could have solid games. I'm not sure that Tre'Davious White will shadow either receiver specifically. I think they're both going to have opportunities. And on the Buffalo side, I obviously love McCoy to stay hot and keep playing well. And maybe I'm back on Nick O'Leary this week as a streamer.
5 points. 5 points.
5 big ones. Chunk yardage. He's Mr. Chunk yardage in that offense. Tyrod might be a decent streamer again. We're in a bye week pinch, obviously, with a ton of teams having a week off. But I'll take the Raiders on the road.
Well, guys, we have a disagreement here. I'm taking the Buffalo Bills.
Hey, I like it. I like it.
At home. I like the Bills a lot in fantasy this week. This Raiders defense hasn't really been able to stop many people. Tyrod Taylor's a great streaming option. McCoy finally got into the end zone, not once, but twice. As I predicted last week, he was my breakout candidate, my love candidate at running back. He's just too good not to continue to rack up the yards. On the other side, I do think it's an encouraging sign that Amari Cooper got going. But Derek Carr was facing a pretty bad defense with Kansas City. Like, they've won a lot of games. It's not because of their defense. It's because of their offense. Honestly, I think this one is going to be an ugly game. It's going to be like something like a 22-19 Bills victory. I don't even know how they get 22-19. A lot of field goals, a safety. I don't know. But it's going to be something like that. But the Bills are going to win at home.
So start Hauschka is what you're saying.
Yeah, start Hauschka. He's been doing well lately, so he's a good start in this game.
Hauschka to Vecchio slugfest. That's what's coming.
Exactly. Big on kickers. Next game we got is the hapless Colts against the Cincinnati Bengals. Colts giving up 10 sacks last week to Jacksonville Jaguars. I think that's the Jaguars' second time they've gotten 10 sacks this year already. They looked awful. They couldn't get anything going on the ground. They couldn't get anything going through the air. On the other side, Bengals, in the second half, they couldn't do anything on the ground, and they couldn't do anything through the air against the Steelers. But the Bengals are the better team. They're going to win this game, and I think they're going to win it by quite a bit. Andy Dalton's a nice streaming option if you have him, even though he looked pretty scared at the end of the Pittsburgh game. He threw a ball out of bounds on 4th down. Like, why would you just throw it to someone and hope?
That made me laugh. That made me laugh quite a bit. That was
absolutely incredible what he did there. But this is not a Colts defense that he will be getting scared about. I'm going to finally say I've been kind of tempered to my Joe Mixon love this year. This is going to be the week that he breaks out. I'm starting all my Bengals that I got. AJ Green, obviously, as a start. Tyler Kroft is also another guy that I think is definitely a streaming option this week. If you have a tight end on bye, like Delaney Walker, or you need a guy, I think he could have a nice week as well. Yeah,
Schroeder, me and you were wrong last week about the Bengals. That was our upset of the week. Joe, the genius over here. I agree with you. Everything you said. Indianapolis is terrible. And the Bengals, they ran up against a really hot, excellent Pittsburgh Steelers team. The defense is playing well for Pittsburgh, and their offense got going too. I think they just ran into a tough opponent. I think they're going to bounce back, beat the Colts easily in this one.
Yeah, I have to agree with you guys. This is the second biggest line of the week for the Bengals at home. And not really something you see with a 2-4 team playing a 2-5 team. But the Bengals are better than their record. I've loved Joe Mixon all year and been wrong. Maybe this is the week he gets it going. And I love Dalton this week. This is more of a pass funnel Colts defense. Really susceptible to the pass. AJ Green's great. And for Indianapolis, stay away. Play T.Y. Hilton if you must, but otherwise stay away.
All right. Joe, next game we got is the Texans at the Seahawks. The Seahawks for the first half of last game looked completely offensive inept. And then they got it going. Actually had a good second half. Texans, on the other hand, they have, I can't believe I'm saying this, a lot of weapons. Apparently, Will Fuller, every other catch he makes is a touchdown. Is that trend going to continue against the Seahawks this week?
I'm going to say yes so that it won't because I'm facing Will Fuller in fantasy. No, obviously this is just a really fluky thing that's going on with him. He's a very fast, very special deep threat, but his skill set is otherwise limited. And these red zone touchdowns, I just can't see the trend continuing, especially against a good secondary in Seattle. I think this is going to be one of the better games of the week, probably fueled by defense. But Russell Wilson, all he does is throw 3 touchdowns in the second half of games. Apparently, we saw Doug Baldwin get going against the Giants. I think that continues again this week. It's a tougher matchup on the other side for DeAndre Hopkins, but he's so heavily targeted, so heavily involved that it's tough to stay away. I love both quarterbacks here, even in less than ideal matchups and circumstances. And we'll see if Jimmy Graham can continue to not suck after last week. The Seattle running back situation is still a quagmire. Can either of you guys make sense out of it?
Giggity.
Well, I mean, Thomas Rawls fumbled, so you think like, he should be the guy. But I think
in there the next snap though, so he might be.
I think Eddie Lacy got more work, so I like him a little bit more in Rawls, but this is something I'm staying away from.
Yeah, I'm going with the Seahawks in this game.
I am too. I forgot to say that. Sorry.
Yeah, I assumed you were the way you were talking. It's a close one. This is going to be the best, like one of the best games of the week, if not the best. I trust Russell Wilson. I think he's great, and he proves it. And the Seahawks tend to start slow and really get things going this time of year. And as far as Will Fuller goes, I'm riding him till he dies. That's I paid the price one time when a hot receiver kept getting deep shots. I think it was like 2013 Cecil Shorts with Jacksonville kept getting, and I'm like, it won't continue. Didn't play him once. He was on my bench the whole time. So if you have better options, okay. But Will Fuller, another touchdown this week. You heard it here first.
Yeah, I'm picking the Seahawks. DeAndre Hopkins does have a tough matchup. I think he's probably going to be across from Richard Sherman, which is, pretty much the opposite of what you want moving forward. But he's still a must play. He's just too talented. And Deshaun Watson, I think, can still figure out some ways to get him the ball. I think you do have to temper your expectations on the Texans side. On the Seahawks side, you're starting Wilson, you're starting Baldwin, and Jimmy Graham is an option. But I'm actually seeing kind of a low-scoring game in this one, like a 16-9 type of game. So I'm not loving anyone in this game, but you might not have better options. All right, next game we got is the Cowboys at the Redskins. Rob, Jordan Reed, he's alive. He finally caught a couple touchdowns. He looks fully healthy. Had 10 targets last night.
What was really funny was I was watching the game with you guys, and at halftime I was heading home, and I was thinking of, all right, I'm going to tell the audience that now might be the time to sit Jordan Reed. And then that, happened. So had a huge game, came up big. Don't sit Jordan Reed. Don't listen to that nonsense. But yeah, we finally saw him get going, as he should. This is going to be a great game. It's going to be a lot of offense. Not such good defense this week. And I like the Redskins to pull this out. I think they played the Eagles tough. I just think the Eagles are amazing. The Cowboys side, yeah, they looked amazing in that game. It was the 49ers, though. The Cowboys have had their struggles defensively. I think Kirk Cousins is going to be too much for them now that Jordan Reed is going. Another week for Rob Kelly to perhaps get a little healthier. Chris Thompson's looking good, had another touchdown. I like them to overpower them. I like them in this game. I'm starting Zeke, Dez, just go down the line. I'm starting all the big name guys. I'm not starting Terrell Pryor. It's a good matchup. He just hasn't shown up. He had that 1 week where I called it, and after that he's been terrible. So I don't even think he broke 10 points that game. So yeah, I'm going with the Redskins here in a shootout. Best game of the week. Are there any guys I'm missing that you guys might be starting in fantasy?
Not that I'm seeing, really. I kind of am going to actually disagree with you a little bit, though, Rob. Josh Norman looks like he's coming back, so I'm going to be fading Dez quite a bit. I mean, you're still going to be starting him if you have him in season long, but he's definitely someone, as long as Josh Norman plays, that I'm definitely not going to be playing in DFS. Obviously Ezekiel Elliott's going to be a start, and most people on the Cowboys are going to be a start. On the Redskins, Kirk Cousins continues to look good. He's getting his fantasy points, whether it be in garbage time or not. It doesn't matter for fantasy purposes. But I'll go ahead and say you're starting Jordan Reed every week. You're starting Chris Thompson every week. Rob Kelly, I guess, can be a flex play if you need a bye week fill-in. Terrell Pryor needs to be dropped in all leagues. The guy's awful. I was completely wrong on this one. Drop him. Be done with it.
Yeah, they're playing Doxson ahead of him. And that's a trend I expect to continue. Doxson is getting more and more involved every week. And even he really hasn't produced. This just isn't a team that really throws to their wide receivers a ton. They utilize both tight ends. They throw to the running backs a ton. Mm-hmm. Oh, they throw to one running back a ton, and that's Chris Thompson. He's an every week must start. All he does is score touchdowns. And I'm going with the Cowboys on the road. I agree. I think this will be the best game of the week. And Dez is one touchdown away from the all-time Cowboys record. So I think you'll see enough volume here to be definitely fantasy relevant, especially against a less than 100% secondary for Washington.
All right, next game up, we got the Steelers at the Lions on Sunday Night Football. Guys, Martavis Bryant has been complaining, and usually that means he's going to be getting the ball. He did not last week, even though a lot of reports came out said he was going to have a large target share. But I'm actually going to be calling it. This is the week that Martavis Bryant is going to put up a big game. And one of the reasons why is Juju Smith-Schuster is now in the concussion protocol. The Detroit Lions defense is not that good. So I think the Steelers can put up a lot of points against them. You're definitely starting Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, and I like Martavis Bryant a decent amount this week. I'm feeling that he's going to get a long touchdown. We'll see if that feeling actually comes true. On the Lions side, you could start Abdullah, but guys, this Steelers defense has looked increasingly better as the year has gone on. They are allowing less than 200 passing yards per game. I'm staying away from Stafford. I guess you can start Marvin Jones out of flex, but I'm fading quite a few Lions.
Well, I would start Eric Ebron. I'm kidding. No, Schroeder, you're right. This defense, what a turnaround. They were known for how good their offense was and defense. Very different from the typical Steelers football, but now they're back to that. And I love Le'Veon Bell in this game. I love Antonio Brown. I'm tempering on the Martavis Bryant prediction. But I don't know. Maybe we'll see some more Vance McDonald this week. Had a few targets there, a few good catches. So I'm going from that's kind of my swing for the fences. $3,000 DraftKings pick this week is Vance McDonald. But yeah, and I think Stafford, there's going to be some struggles there. Again, like you said, this is a great defense. I think they'll put up some points, but I think there's going to be some turnovers. Steelers are forcing a lot of turnovers, and yeah, they're going to squeeze this one out. It's going to be an ugly game, but they're going to win.
Yeah, I'm going to have to take the Steelers on the road here. Matt Stafford does play better at home, but that offensive line for Detroit hasn't played well. He's been under pressure, and he's really going to miss Golden Tate, a guy he relies on to bail him out to catch those quick passes when he is under pressure. Marvin Jones is fine to play even in a tough matchup because he's going to have such a voluminous target share. Obviously, you love the big two in for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They used to be the big three.
No,
the big two.
Not feeling that production.
And, I'm not sure if I like Antonio Bryant this week to
get
that long touchdown.
That was a Yahoo report. Antonio Bryant, not to be confused, they messed up. Not to be confused with the former Dallas receiver Antonio Bryant.
But I hope you're right, Schroeder, because bye weeks are forcing him into my starting lineup in a dynasty league where I've kind of held on to him. Hopefully it's him and not Eli Rogers, who's the number 2 pass catcher for the Steelers this week.
It's funny that they said Antonio Bryant because they got that wrong. It's Antonio Brown, but they also got the fact that wrong that it wasn't even Antonio Brown. So they misspelled the wrong guy. It's just Yahoo is just
and it's the wrong team. Dallas receiver didn't even play for Pittsburgh.
It's so out of whack over there at Yahoo. But I'm picking the Steelers here too, since I forgot to mention that. All right, last game, Joe. We got Broncos at the Chiefs. Broncos were awful last week. Are they going to be bouncing back here?
Maybe slightly. I think their offense will get a little bit more done against a kind of a leaky Chef's defense. But the Broncos are reeling right now. Simeon has really struggled. It's funny. I called for that at the beginning of the year, and once I finally started to believe in those Broncos, Simeon decided to turn it around. And yeah, they have a turn. The running back game is a turnstile. They're just throwing in whoever on any specific drive. No guy is able to get in any kind of rhythm for Denver. Emmanuel Sanders is probably still going to miss a few more weeks, which Simeon really relies on him. Demaryius Thomas was shut out last week against the Chargers, so I'm fading all my Broncos this week. For the Chiefs, their offense continues to look explosive. You're obviously starting Smith, Hunt, Kelsey, and Tyreek Hill every week, and I think they roll at home.
Yeah, Joe, I want to disagree so we can have more to talk about, but no, I agree with you. I'll disagree with one thing. I think that Demaryius Thomas is going to bounce back. That's hard to shut him down 2 weeks in a row. This Chiefs secondary is a little susceptible. I think he might have a good game. Other than that, I just don't have any confidence in these players. If you have C.J. Anderson, you might have to start him. Just depends on your situation. But ultimately, I think the Chiefs are going to wear away at them. It's going to be low scoring. And then the Chiefs, much like the Chargers, will pull away because the Denver defense will not be able to get off the field. And it's going to wear on them. So I like Alex Smith, even with a tough matchup. I like Hill. I like Hunt. Chiefs for the win.
Yeah, Chiefs are going to win this game. One of my sleepers, again, last week, I'm calling it again, Benny Fowler. I think he could put up a nice week as well if you need a last-minute fill-in. One question here, though, guys. Rob, C.J. Anderson, top 20 back the rest of the year?
Are you saying top 20? Well, I guess it's about the same answer because he's about ranked 20th. Yes, I'm going to go with that. They're going to be inconsistent with him. Looking at the schedule, there's a few games that pop out that I think he could have some decent games. But it's going to be close. It's going to be close. I think he'll have enough big games to land in the top 20, but it's going to be so frustrating as an owner because I think he's going to have 3 points and then 15 points and then 4 and then 3 and then 12. I think it's going to be up and down, and you're just going to have to guess which game it is. I like him in best ball leagues. He's going to be a headache in standard formats.
Yeah, the best version of their offense was one where he was running, the ball 18 to 20 times a game. So maybe Denver gets back to that.
So you think he's going to be top 20 rest of the season?
Lower back end top 20. It'll be a running back too the rest of the way.
Okay. I'm saying no. I'm saying he's out of it. I think they're going to be using Jamal Charles more, and I don't know why, but they're using Devontae Booker more, which doesn't make sense to me because Anderson is their most talented back from what I've seen. But I'm going to say he's going to fall probably within the 25 to 30 range for me. Any last thoughts before we sign off, guys?
What can I say? It's been a good year. It's been fun. I'm enjoying this podcast, this YouTube show. And go Bills. I don't know. I don't know what they are this year. They're 7-9. They're 8-8. It's the same story.
Panthers, I guess I would say. And good luck, everybody, in fantasy week 7 or week 8.
I'm going to go ahead and implore everyone. Do not start anyone on Thursday night. For the love of God, just don't do it. Thanks for tuning in. If you can go ahead, please like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also message us at ffanonymous3@gmail.com or tweet us at ffanonymous3. For me, Joe, and Rob, thanks for listening, and see you next week.